Welcome to Inspiring Salon Professionals, the podcast that allows every therapist, nail tech and stylist to level up, build their career and reach for their dreams. Each episode will be looking at a different area of the industry, and along the way I'll be chatting with salon owners, industry leaders and experts who'll be sharing their stories on how they achieved their goals, made their successes, all to inspire you in your business and career. I'm Sue Davies, your host, award-winning salon owner and industry professional. Welcome to Inspiring Salon Professionals. Hi there, and welcome to this week's episode of Inspiring Salon Professionals. This week, I'm going to be joined by Marta Zaczkowska. We're going to be talking all things waxing and standards within the waxing industry. Marta's been on a campaign to try and raise standards in this waxing industry as a result of a lot of different things, but a lot of the reason that she's doing this is because of the Instagram, TikTok images and videos that are going around where there are people that are practicing waxing that may not be practicing it in a very professional way. And so Marta's taken it into her stride and is now trying to get everybody to realize what the right way is to work as a professional. So we'll be talking about that. And she's also got some other exciting information she's going to share with us about something that's coming up in January 2024. And I will hand over now to the interview. So see you on the other side. So, hello, Marta. Welcome back to the podcast. It's been a while. And this time we're going to be talking much more about waxing and standards and that kind of stuff. So for those that don't know you, if you could just give us a little introduction about who you are, what you do, and then we can start with the questions.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me, Sue.
That's okay.
And for those who are listening for the first time, my name is Marta Zaczkowska. I know, very difficult surname to pronounce, but you can just call me Marta. I am a waxing specialist, waxing expert. I have a salon and training academy based in London. Almost 2 decades of experience in body hair removal, including laser. I'm an author, so I wrote a book about pregnancy waxing. I'm also involved with the industry, so I had the pleasure of being a speaker with Professional Beauty. I wrote articles for the magazine, you might have seen it. I was a judge for beauty awards, and recently I became a campaigner to raising standards in waxing. My personal goal for this year was to speak a bit slower.
I know, I noticed you are speaking very eloquently.
And I'm trying. I am from Poland, guys, and English is my second language, and we speak very quick in Polish in native language. So it's very difficult to speak slower. I try.
It is hard. And I mean, I'm someone who, especially when I was younger, I used to speak really, really fast. And it's funny because my kids do that now. And I'm like, what are you saying? But I've naturally slowed down over the years. But no, but I did think no, Marta's speaking very slowly today, because I know you. I've known you for quite a while, and I know like you normally are much faster. But it's nice to enunciate.
I admire podcasters like you because you have that nice soothing voice, and when people listening, it's just really nice and enjoyable. So I will try.
It's an odd thing though, because when and anyone that's done podcasting or anyone that's done video, anything will know that awful, like what you sound like. And everybody like feels that their voice sounds horrendous. And when you play back, I have to say like now, so like over 50 episodes in, I'm completely over that. And I'm quite used to the sound of my own voice now, because I still don't think I've got a very nice voice. But I have so many people say like, well, you know, when they sort of talk about the podcast about how nice my voice sounds on the podcast. But I still don't, although I feel I sound a bit husky today for some reason, not quite my normal self, but but it is an odd thing, and how we come across, and it is that slowing down of the speech really, really helps people. And I think it doesn't matter if you're a native speaker or not, it just, that slowing down really does help people to really hear what you're saying. Anyway, so Marta, you're back to talk to me today because you have been campaigning. Look, I can't speak now. You have been, I'm going to teeth in. You have been campaigning around waxing standards, and I've seen some of the stuff you've been doing. And as someone myself who is a waxer and has been a waxing specialist over the years, I haven't waxed anybody beyond an eyebrow for over a year. It's really weird, and I'm getting back into doing it, or trying to. But it's but I'm gonna feel like all those intimate waxing nerves come back, I think, whenever I get to do one next, because I haven't done one for so long. But it's really interesting to see you campaigning and on something that is really important to our industry, and there's a lot of standards that need to be looked at. So what was it that actually inspired you to start doing this and to get a campaign going to try and make the industry perk up and do the right thing?
So as a waxing professional, I now help other beauty professionals to become a go-to waxing expert. So I'm an educator, and that's my main role at the moment within the industry. And what happened over the years, over the last 3 years, when I became more visible within an online space and within our industry, something organically happened, which was a bit strange at the beginning, but I was getting a lot of DMs and private messages, people sending me certain things and asking for my opinion. So they said, have you seen this? Do you think this is correct? What do you think about this? Or just tagging me in a certain post in the groups. So I've realized that people do want to know my opinion, that maybe there's something I could do for all of us. And I decided that, it would be good to do this officially as a campaign. And I have to say myself, I was very worried about seeing more and more videos on social media, specifically on Instagram and TikTok. Some of them are not by professionals, some of them are just by random influencers, really damaging our industry. And I thought, if somebody is a new waxer or somebody who just is joining the industry, how they can look those videos and think that this is something that we stand for. This is scary. So I thought, let's go back to basics and let's create a campaign that will go through all those aspects and all those keys that will help raising standards in waxing.
Yeah, because I think it is, and there's certain elements across the industry, aren't there, where people that are not industry feel it's okay to kind of take on what we do and make money out of it, effectively, is what a lot of them are doing, because if there are influencers, they're being paid by companies to do this stuff, and it is a worrying trend, and something that that the public don't realize is not the way of doing things. And I think that whole idea that the public are coming into us as professionals and they expect us to behave a certain way, and it may be that they expect us to behave in a way that they've seen on these videos, and then when we do something different, that may cause question with what we're actually doing. So is the campaign within the industry, or are you sort of trying to get out to consumers as well?
So at the moment it's within the industry, because I feel like this is where we need to start. Yep. But there is another campaign that I also back up, which is the campaign by Babtag, and they're doing a great way, the Time campaign.
Time, yeah.
Really encourage people to check, because Babtag is addressing this more to consumers. Yeah, so I thought, because this campaign is going kind of along with my one, I don't think there's any need for me to add it to it. So I'm just like happy to support Babtag with their campaign. But I think equally they both really need it, because we need to look after the therapies and educate, and we need to educate the consumers.
Yeah, and I think it is, isn't it? Because if they're, especially newly qualified therapists, if some of us that have been doing this for a very long time, we know what to expect and what we should be doing. But I think if you're new to industry and you're young, you're in that younger demographic, the chances are you are going to be much more on TikTok, much more on Instagram, and you are going to be viewing this stuff thinking that this may be normal as a professional, which obviously it isn't. So what do you think are the most important standards that need to have sort of emphasis put upon them?
Mm-hmm. So if I could just pick up top 5, for example, without getting into details, I would definitely say first one will be the insurance. Mm-hmm. Because how can we treat people, and how can we be open to the public and not protect our business, ourselves, your reputation? And of course, you don't want to do anything bad to the clients, but when it happens, you want to be sure that you've done everything to prevent it. So that would be a number one. So I know we are not regulated industry, hopefully for much longer, but insurance is something that's a Bible. You should have it. Yeah. Another one will be waxing consultation and patch testing. That is something that people still overlook, and they have that either very quickly online, something that is just tick boxes. I would like to encourage people to not to overlook this and really look deeper into waxing consultations and patch testing. I've recently introduced in my salon that waxing consultation and patch test as a separate treatment. Clients have to pay for it. They have to come before to the salon for separate visit. And then only after that, 48 hours later, they can book initial appointment. You might think this is a bit over the top, but I think it is something that's going to happen in the industry, likely maybe in 5-10 years, hopefully. It's something that I do to protect my business. I like to do it because I want to know the clients, everything about waxing. So I educate them. I check all the contraindications. I talk through them, not just tick boxes and not just saying, oh yeah, okay, you don't have any contraindications. I educate them. So I think if you want to raise standards within your business, you really have to look at waxing consultation as a great tool to bring clients in to your business, but also to grow, because consultation can be used also as a tool to get more retail, you can do great marketing with it.
Yeah.
So that would be the second. And I think two more I will add it, which quite often I get told that they are so basic, and I'm sure, Marta, everyone is following.
Mm-hmm.
So those two are actually a reason why I think I got fired up a few months ago when I saw that at a beauty event. And I thought, that's it. I'm doing this campaign because we really need it. I'm not going to name anyone. I have contacted these companies and the organizers, and they've been very helpful, and they said they will do everything to stop this. But those two things were wearing gloves at all waxing treatments. There's no exceptions. Maybe in the past we were a bit of more chilled. I mean, even myself in my salon, eyebrows were like, okay, I just put hand sanitizer. But we don't do this anymore. I think pandemic taught us a lot about hygiene standards. So that's another one. And no double dipping, number one rule of waxing.
And I think there's a lot of confusion around double dipping as well. And I know that a brand that I've been associated with for a very long time, we don't do what I would consider to be double dipping, but in some respects, it's still double dipping. So maybe a quick explanation of what a true double dip is.
So the no double dipping means that we use one spatula per one application. So if we take wax from the pot and that touches client's skin, it cannot go back to the pot, and there's no exception. If you put that back to the pot and you will be going back and forth, you will contaminate the wax, because the temperature of the wax is well too low to kill bacteria. Not to mention that sometimes you have hair stuck to your spatula and blood and bacteria. So then if somebody comes in after, you will be just spreading this bacteria to other people. And that could cause infections, and it's absolutely disgusting. I think we should not be doing anything like this. I can still see some brands are using metal knives for legs, and they're going back and forth. That shouldn't be happening. The knives should go. I've also recently seen, this was in Ireland on one of the shows, where they were having a one pot, and they will keep going back with quite big wood spatula. And they said that when they finish, they set the pot on a very, very high temperature, and therefore they can reuse it. I'm not a scientist or like a medical professional, but I have concerns about this. I don't know whether it is something we can say 100% there's no bacteria there. Because pots, you have to remember, how do you know exactly which temperature is in there? Some pots have just like numbers. Some pots are digital. Depends on the producer. Like I've learned now what it's on my pot 70 degree, on your wax pot, which is could be from China or from wherever, could be a completely different. So you don't really know 100% what the temperature is. We don't know, do you? Unless you have a very great digital pot, which I don't think so they have. So let's just summarize that. we just don't do it. It's a hygiene rule and we shouldn't be doing this. And believe me, clients are now well educated. They spot these things from far.
And I think as well, you know, gone are the days. I mean, you know, anyone that was in, I mean, I wasn't in waxing back in the day in the sort of 70s and 80s, but, you know, back then, you know, they'd reuse the hot wax.
Yeah.
And they strain it. I mean, now the thought of it makes you literally want to vomit. But there's therapists that I know that used to do that.
Yeah.
Because that was the standard of the time. And I think, you know, we realized that picking up the wax, I mean, how you can think it's okay to pick up a wax pad that has got someone else's hair in it and heat it and strain the hair out,
yeah,
and then reuse that wax. I mean, it just doesn't add up, does it? And I think now this is maybe the next stage in the evolution of waxing, that we actually realize that all of those contaminants could still be in there just by nature of the spatula or the knife going backwards and forwards.
And there's one more thing, Sue, that I just have to mention, is the whole part of education online. When people they're showing waxing on IG or TikTok, do you know how many times I see the educator getting set for the filming, putting the gloves on, and now she's touching her phone, she's touching something, you know, things that phones are full of bacteria, and I'm just cringing, you know, like I see people waxing and then touching like a fans, you know, and then they touching the fans. I don't know how that works, by the way, I don't recommend, but then they touching objects and then other people touching this and then going back to the skin. I know there will be percentage, we can never be 100% hygienic. There will be small, you know, risk. But I think
we're not in an operating theatre, are we?
You know, but I feel like we need to do everything and not to make mistakes like this, specifically if you are an educator and you're filming something online, because of somebody that is watching, a student, somebody who wants to be in the industry and is picking up on those really bad habits.
Yeah. And I think one of my biggest bugbears is people with their hair down teaching. Yeah. And that literally drives me insane. You see somebody educating, and it doesn't matter if it's in any area of our industry, whether you're in waxing, nails, aesthetics, in facials, body massage, whatever it is you're doing, if you are touching somebody, you should have your hair tied back. So, because, you know, hair holds a lot of germs and a lot of bacteria, and you've got, you know, you've done your thing, you've washed your hands, sanitized, put your gloves on, and then you spend the treatment constantly pushing your hair out of your face. And it does drive me mad. I spend a long time trying to find videos or find images that we can use for like different projects I'm working on, where the therapist has got her hair tied back. And it's just, you know, I mean, I don't have to tie mine back now, but even this bit, it would drive me mad if I'm working.
Yeah, I thought it's difficult when I had a haircut. I had a bob about 2-3 years. It's quite difficult because I couldn't tighten it up. I couldn't do anything. So, you know, you just put this under your ear. It was quite difficult.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I get in trouble by picking up on those stuff online. And you know me, I'm not fazed by it.
No, you don't mind having a debate.
I don't mind, you know, I think I'm fighting for a good cause, so you can put it on me. But I recently saw a program on Channel 4, and it was about something not connected. I think it's something about transformation. And there was a therapist that was doing the contestant brow and like rings on her fingers, no gloves and things like this. So it happens, like if that happens on the TV, like...
Yeah, on EastEnders, because I'm a bit of an EastEnders fan. And on there they've got a salon, and I know it's make believe, but really you're not doing a good representation to our industry. And it is they don't understand our standards, do they? And I think while we're talking standards, we ought to mention as well that a lot of these things are in the National Occupational Standards. Yep. And if you go to the National Occupational Standards website, as a therapist, you can go and search any treatment that you do and you will find a standard for it. And that is where a lot of the stuff that I've worked on in nails comes from. A lot of the stuff that Marta's working on with waxing comes from. These standards are there as a guide and as a demand, really, on how we operate as a professional.
Yeah, we refer to them. We did refer in the campaign to national occupation standards. I have put that as well because I thought this is crucial. People have to know about it.
Yeah. One thing I'd mention as well, Marta, I noted down was like with the consultation process that you're discussing, and I think is really pertinent, and maybe more so, well, I think it's probably always been pertinent, but more so probably since the pandemic, because I'm sure like me, you've seen across multiple forums, people having like wax burns on their brows, wax burns on their upper eyelid, on their upper lip and stuff like that. With clients that have had waxing for years and years and years, and all of a sudden they get a skin tear.
Yeah.
And that there was a potential that if you were post-COVID and you'd had an infection, that it would change in your skin structure. But I mean, and that's not been proven in any way, but we know as professionals there was an element that we were seeing people that had COVID, and anecdotally that seemed to be a factor. But also that consultation, you know, that check-in a couple of days before to make sure no one's had retinol. You know, retinols are everywhere currently, but there's a huge amount of people that use retinols, and retinol is a contraindication. And so if you aren't doing a full consultation, if they turn up on the day for a quick 10-minute brow wax and you're then asking them, have you had retinol? The chances are someone may not be truthful.
Yeah.
And then they're going to get a brow burn.
Yeah. There's a few things you can avoid this. I have on my website information when you book in, a pop-up comes out and it says that if they use this and this and this and products, this and this and this ingredients, if they had any of those treatments in the last 14 days. So by taking it, they say already they concerned that they haven't. Yeah. But you're right, some people might lie. Exactly. But what I do, I also ask them on a day. You know, it takes a few minutes to write it down questions and laminate it and just have it on your bed. And when they come in, you just tell them before they undress, I say, could you just quickly have a look and just tell me? By doing a separate waxing consultation and patch test, you know what happens? Quite often it ends up that actually they do have restrictions, and then I can just send them off, but I actually get paid for that time. It wasn't my mistake. They knew, or they hidden that information from me. They came face to face. People sometimes can't lie. you would know when they're lying, but at least I know I send them off. I tell them exactly when to come back, but I'm getting paid for that time. I charge £20 for consultation. That's about 15-20 minutes. So just if you wonder how much I'm charging, I think it's a fair amount for the knowledge that I'm giving them for the time. And it's something that gives me a bit of more comfort as well, that I am giving them my expertise. It's something that I've worked for so long. I've invested in my education. Why should I give it for free?
Yeah, and it is. And when you're doing something that's that thorough as well, you know, it's different, isn't it? A sort of, you know, a pre-appointment consultation where you're just checking in to make sure nothing's changed since the previous visit, that's a different level of consultation. But when you are sitting down and you're going to spend that time with them, then it's important that that is factored into your costs.
And also, you know, I have all information on my website, waxing etiquette. It says if you shaved your hair, I need you to wait for 2 weeks minimum, or like ½ centimeter. Depends on what hair type. How many people still turn up and they have hair too short? But the difference is now I will send them off, but I get paid for it.
Yeah.
Normal circumstances, I would be lost. I would be sitting there. I wouldn't get paid. I would send the client. Sometimes they don't come back, right? Because they'd be like, oh, I can't wait 2 weeks. I've got holidays tomorrow. Yeah. And you just lose that client anyway, because they're not interested in a regular waxing. So that's just the way how I do things.
No, that's good. And it's you know, and it's interesting to kind of just a different way to move your business forward, but also set an example for other people so that they're not afraid to do that. Because I think some people are too frightened to go, actually, I'd love to do that, but what will happen? And I know you were saying to me before, you've actually found that you're busier than you've ever been, because people respond to that professional level and that niching of what you do, don't they? And if you set yourself up as an expert, people are more likely to pay you.
And I think the key ingredients to this is to set boundaries. Like I have my boundaries set well, and people respect that. Yeah,
absolutely. So what have you been doing so far to raise awareness for the campaign? What you've been up to, who you've been talking to?
So when I started this campaign, I asked two lovely ladies from our industry, they educators and a great industry expert, which is Donna Clayton and Vicky.
Love her. My
And I
work
asked them, they're amazing. I asked them to help me out a bit because I needed a bit of a help with copywriting, and I needed them to kind of have a look. Have I maybe missed something? Should we say that in a different way? And they've been very helpful. So they've been like monitoring and consulting with me on that campaign. So it wasn't just me. I've launched at my Facebook group, very long name, get ready, support group for waxing professionals. You can
that's what it is, though, isn't it? It says what it does on the tin.
That it says exactly. So in that group, I said to people, look, this is what we're going to do. And every week I produced a short video with presentation slides, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 7 key factors of raising standards in waxing, and we just put it out there. I also put it on Instagram and on my mailing list. So 3 channels. And that went for about 7 weeks. And people could comment, they could respond, but it was really about raising awareness. And one of the things that you probably would like to ask me as well, what was like the impact and has anything changed?
Yeah.
That was actually, you know what I think it did? It kind of put people together, and it like a strong sense of community of therapists that want to be high standards. They want to be above, they want to be like, you know, showing the clients like the best side. And I really like that, because what's happening now, I still get those messages, I still get this, but they like more now an advocate as well. They're like, look, this is what this person is doing. Like, I'm sure this is not well, I'm just showing you, but like, I'm not going to do this. It's so nice. It's actually so nice because you can see those little changes.
It is. And I think if people have the confidence to step up and say, no, that's not right, then eventually that it's like that trickle down, isn't it? And eventually they'll start commenting on other groups and saying, well, actually, have you considered that you shouldn't be doing that?
Yeah. And I mentioned I get in trouble, guys. Sometimes things I try to be really nice and polite, and always think about there's other therapists on the other side. And people sometimes say, oh, but you could send a private message, Marta. Why did you have to comment officially? And I tell you, like recently, it was a similar situation. I've commented like, lovely video, but could you consider doing this? It was about hygiene. And it wasn't actually the person that contacted me from the IG, but it was like, I think her business mentor or somebody who is working with her. And I've kind of like, I took everything on board. I was like, okay, I tried to understand. But the video is still there, right? They haven't took it down. The video is really damaging to her as an educator, as a business, and they haven't put it down. So that just proves that it doesn't matter how I will do it. If I did private message or I posted comment, because you can delete the comment anyway. They've done it. So I'm thinking, okay, some people will just not click. They will not be interested. They just do what they do, and that's fine with me. I kind of pointed out, take it or leave it. You don't have to like me. You know, I believe in that. There's something that I'm very strong about. So I have no intention of upsetting people, but you have to know that I am quite strict with those rules, and I will always point it out if I think something isn't serving our industry.
But I think, like, and obviously, like, we have known each other for quite a long time now, and we've had several debates over that time where we maybe haven't seen eye to eye, but I think the nice thing with you is it's never personal, and it's about a particular point, and then you move on. But I think it's just nice that you are out there and you are saying to these people in that polite way, this is how it is, and you know, you now need to make the right choice, because that's all you can do, isn't it?
Exactly.
And I suppose it must be like, that's probably one of the biggest challenges, isn't it, really, that you're coming across, is just that whole, you know, trying to get people to not only listen but to do it.
Yeah. So there was few challenges with this campaign. Number one was this kind of not arrogance, but like a bit like, oh, this is so basic, Marta, like, what you want to talk, like, we all know that, we've had that at school, and this is nothing new. People say, oh, this is all in national occupational standards. And you know, quite often actually we have those two groups of people that are not from industry and doing all that damage, and then we have also people that have been in the industry for a long time but stick to the old ways, and things are move on, and you have to educate yourself and go with the industry, and you can't be stubborn and say, well, but I've been doing this for 20 years, 30 years. I respect that, but I feel like wouldn't be easier for all of us and for you as well, for your business, if you just listen a bit and feel like, you know what, actually she's right. So that was the one thing, that there were some voices of criticism that this is not needed. And I'm like, well, you know, when I know this is not needed anymore, when I won't be getting those videos and DMs, and I won't be getting other people being concerned about this is so damaging, why this is online. And what also is upsetting, that quite frankly, some of those videos have so much views and likes. It all, you know, so it all goes down to the fact that we are not regulated industry.
Yeah.
I have to mention here as a reference, you need to understand where I'm coming from. I have trained in Poland, right? Yeah. Almost 20 years ago. In Poland, if you have a salon, you have like a health officer, kind of health and safety officer, who is allocated to an area, and all beauty salons, and they do checks. They will come and they will check everything, all your paperwork. They will check your facilities like sinks. They will check ventilation, everything, your qualifications, insurance, and whether you sanitize things, when you have everything in place. If you don't, one thing, you get shut, you have a time to change those things. If it's a small things, you can do it within a day, you can be open. If it's more, you're gonna get closed, you're gonna get fined, and they have to come back and check. Therefore, I have in my head this kind of feel like that this is serious, this is strict, these are the rules I have to follow. Yeah. Not only just for the people that are on top of my head and they kind of say they can close me down, but like for clients. Don't you want your clients to feel like, oh my God, she's have sparkling salon, everything is hygienic, you know, and then that's how you keep the clients as well. So you should all really care. But this is coming from me really seeing in my country, like how that works there, how much stricter it is. It's regulated industry back home. You need to have all the paperwork, you need to have license, you have regular checks. And I really hope this is going to come here. So what do you think?
I do think that there are changes afoot, and I've been involved in bits and pieces of it, particularly on the nail side. I mean, to a degree, we do have the regulation that there's an overriding regulation of the health and safety executive, and therefore the environmental health officers that operate within the HSE regulations and laws, but they don't understand our industry often enough, or well enough. And it's very hit and miss around the country. In one council, you may get a really good one. In another council, you get someone who has no idea. And in licensing is only in London at the moment. And I think that there's, I know that there's talk, particularly with nails, about having like the 5-star, like the food hygiene being transferred into nails, whether that will go into the wider beauty industry. I think there's a recognition that something is needed, but where that comes from and whether that trickles down from the aesthetics into our industry or into the wider industry, I kind of really hope it does, because I think there needs to be something. And I think the public have this kind of a false sense of security to a degree, because we all know that anyone can set up a waxing pot, anyone can set up an acrylic desk, anyone can set up as a hairdresser, anyone can set up as an esthetician, and no one's going to really check them. There is nothing that is going to come down on them like a ton of bricks. It isn't going to happen, and we know that, but the public, I think, kind of feel that there is something there when there actually isn't. And that's really worrying, because they then go to anybody thinking that that person's qualified, insured, all those different things that we set as our own standards, and then they've been misinformed, misadvertised to. It just goes on. But I really hope that we do get change at some point soon, because it's too easy to get into. The whole industry is too easy to get into, and I think as well, one of the things I was just thinking about as well with waxing is that with something like nails, or with something like massage, or with aesthetics, there's a tendency to do CPD. But with waxing, once you've been taught the basic technique, there, beyond pregnancy waxing maybe, or intimate waxing, there isn't really anywhere else to go with it. And so for CPD, you don't really ever revisit waxing. It's not something that has been done. And that's where I think that these standards, you aren't getting refreshed on that. Whereas if you went off and did CPD, of like, if someone came to you and did your pregnancy waxing course, you would reiterate all of the standards that need to be there. But people don't tend to do very much CPD with waxing, do they?
Do you know what I think? That's just my personal opinion. It's like, if you just have the qualifications, like from college, the part that you had for waxing is that NVQ level 2. I don't think it's yet enough if you want to be a specialist, right?
No.
What I will wanted to see is you do that basic. You have the basic of strip wax and hot wax, full body and bikini, and some part of intimate. And then you go for further education and you do specifics of intimate waxing. You do maybe specific of full body. You do male waxing. You do pregnancy waxing. You could be a facial waxing specialist with brows and all that stuff, right? So I think this, you definitely need to continue and do more afterwards, but also refresher course. If you qualified 20 years ago, you know, when I started, there was only a few brands that you could use. Now we have so many waxing brands. They will vary the consistency of the wax, the temperature, how to apply. There are different ways of application. There are different ways of taking the wax out of the pot. It would be great to, you know, to go and kind of have that knowledge and see, okay, I can have not just stuck to a one brand. Maybe you like, because you've went with this brand 20 years ago and you like, maybe that's fine. But I also have a bit of more knowledge of what's out there. Because you mentioned the problems with the facial waxing, right? And why does that happening? Because people are using the wrong wax as well. So they're using a wax that's strip wax. I would never recommend strip wax on the face. I think we passed that.
I mean, that's how I was trained, and I only trained in 2010 in waxing.
But you know, we move on. I think Amy Lewis from Moise Wax, she also talks about, which I like, she talks a lot about hot waxing for facial. That's it, end of story.
So I've since moving to the brand that that I use, I've only ever used hot wax on the face. I've never used strip wax ever again.
Yeah, and guess what? This is something what Sam Blake would talk about, because she's very good with health and safety. And we talked about what is the number one claim with insurance when it comes to waxing. It's facial waxing. So, you know, I think refresher course on this particular subject will be very beneficial, because then you know, okay, this wax, it's suitable for facial. It's a low temperature, it's a peel of wax. I know how to use it. You know, I can charge premium as well because it's a nice product. So
absolutely. And I think as well, any educators that are watching or listening to this, you know, you're missing a trick here, because you know, wax, if you are a waxing specialist and you know your stuff with waxing, start offering CPD. You know, waxing shouldn't stay in the college classroom. Waxing needs to move forward into the 21st century, and people, so they understand what waxing is about now, not what waxing is about in 2010, because things have moved on. Definitely.
And we soon will see hot waxing for full body waxing for legs and arms coming to UK. There'll be more brands, you know, in US. That's something that they've already been doing for years.
I know I did with Lycon, we'll say their name, but they had, I can't think for the life of me what the wax is called now, because I've not used it for ages, but they had a wax that was suitable for arm and leg waxing. And I have to say, we weren't successful with the leg waxing. We didn't get many people wanting to do it, so we never really got to practice with it very much. But the arm waxing we used to do quite a lot.
It's much more efficient.
It's brilliant.
You can apply it in the bigger sections, peel it off. It's a hot wax, so you know you don't have a risk of skin removal. More efficient, quicker, nicer, and it could be, again, premium treatments, you know. So I think we have to move on from waxing being just the cheap, quick treatment.
If we move on, so what do you think some of the misconceptions are that people have around waxing, and how do you deal with that within what you do? And so I think probably sort of from consumers, what is it they think they're going to get, and how do you get them to understand the professional version?
So we actually just started to talk about this because we said about the pricing, and I said, I really want to move on from waxing being a quick, cheap treatment. I really want to move on from that. Honestly, guys, we do something that requires skills, not only the technical skills, but a focus. Like, you need to have attention to detail. You need to be very composed as well. You need to know how to deal with people that are nervous or panicking. Like, should that not be like on the top of the scale of like how skilled you have to be? I mean, not taking away from people that do massage or facial, because you need to have a strength, but we work in a highly stressful environment.
Especially when that wax pad doesn't want to come off.
you're sweating, you like have back problems, arm problems, guys. But on a serious note, I really feel like I want to move this and make waxing like this luxurious treatment. Because my clients, I tell you, when they see my prices, no one questions why. They see quality. They see, okay, this girl is charging for consultation, right? She must be good. There must be some value. And I also tell them what they're going to get. I'm very transparent about this. Some people will not like it, but they're not my type of clients. We have to move on. Like if you're being very cheap in terms of you very low cost, right? How are you surviving? Like if you have a Hollywood for £12 or £15, you rather do it for free because it looks really dodgy on the leaflet. People will be kind of reserved. People understand that Hollywood is not easy. I feel like there has to be a cost to it. And it's not just the cost of the people think pricing is based on what other people charge, cost of treatment and things like that. Not only that, it took me how many years to be at the position that I am now? And I should charge accordingly. And it doesn't mean it's just the years, but it's the value that I'm giving. So if you're at the beginning of your journey, but you're good, you're giving a good results, good service, that has to reflect in the price. So really, please don't undervalue yourself.
And I think in the beauty industry, particularly, you know, we have a problem with getting people to understand our length of service and our experience and all of that. And in hair, obviously, you know, you join as a junior, then you become a stylist, then you become a senior stylist, and so on till the owner or the manager. And all the way through that process, the price goes up. Mm-hmm. We don't have that in beauty, because I don't think people see that there's a value to having, I mean, obviously we all know that there's a definite difference between someone that's just left college with level 2 and how they're going to wax a leg, and then someone who's got experience like you've got or like I've got, although my experience is waning at the moment, but that whole thing of like, you know, the time it takes to do a leg wax, you know, for someone just leaving college, you know, you're going to have one of the probably the least comfortable waxes done in the longest time. Mm-hmm. And if you have someone that's been doing that for 20 years, you're going to have probably like still not the most comfortable wax in the world, because a full leg wax is not the easiest thing to experience always. But you're going to have someone that can do that with speed and efficiency, and with the knowledge to make that as painless as they possibly can through working speedily and efficiently. And that has to be a value in something that you do, isn't it? It's like, you know, I'm an experienced waxer, and I wouldn't want to put somebody through what I went through when I was first qualified. Because it's not pleasant to be a model or a first person for someone that's just qualified in waxing, is it? Let's face it. Unless you're a natural.
Just laughing because I just thought about my beginnings. But one thing I need to also say, look, the misconceptions as well. You need to understand that any training you do, you know, you've done your college, people contact me a lot about my intimate waxing training, and they say, oh, I really want to be a waxer. I will give you the tools. I will give you my method, right? We're going to do a whole day of training, 3 models. I'm really hands-on you. But then you need to go and practice. When I mean practice, you grab the phone or you put advertising in the groups and you say, I'm looking for a model. And I would expect it that you do few models a day, or you allocate a day in a week and you practice. If you're a salon owner and you have a staff that's just starting, you don't put them straight away for paid clients. You might do a small amount, but you have her practicing and somebody shadowing her. You can't just leave them alone. Yeah, I give like ongoing support, so people going back to me. But sometimes I get into this problem, and this is the confusion as well. I give people my methods, I tell them how to do it, and then they go back to the salon, and the length of the treatments, they keep it the same, an hour and a half, let's say for Hollywood, and they charge something like £30. This is never gonna work. And if people don't change the mentality as well, that they have to have the A and the B, where they are, where they want to be, or where I kind of can put them. If they're not willing to change that and put the price up and reduce the time, I'm not going to be any help for you. So I have to sometimes say, I don't think I'm the right person. I don't think, like, you know, because not everyone will understand how waxing works. Some therapies are more into longer treatments and more calm treatments, right? Waxing.
I mean, as soon as you say an hour and a half for Hollywood, I'm just sitting thinking, no.
Yeah, it's happening. And you know what is happening? Because this person hasn't had like this maybe explained, or like haven't had the guidance and doesn't understand that clients don't want an hour and a half. Yeah, she
just
maybe
sat in position for an hour and a half. That just being in the position would be uncomfortable for me. But having that
I think
hair
the logic behind it is like, we're going to do it slowly, so it's not so painful. I give myself all the time, so I remove all your hair, and then I'm not going to charge you that much. So sometimes I have to really tell people from the beginning, I said, look, we need to change your mindset. We need to set some boundaries. We need to have goals, how long this potentially and realistically could take, and then we need to price it. And these are the misconceptions sometimes too. People think they don't need to change. I give them my method and they just go and do the old stuff. Doesn't work like that.
Is there nothing? And people, this, you know, is what we're saying, and moving on as well, you know, that sort of that whole way of keeping up to date. You know, this is all part of it, isn't it? And, you know, that understanding that you need to continue your development, and you need to continue learning, and you need to take on new methods and new techniques, and reevaluate your pricing. And there's just so many ways now that we have the opportunity to keep ourselves up to date.
Yeah, I'm continue doing some new stuff. Like, who has heard about skin games in US, guys? Have you heard about it?
The name rings a bell.
Games. You see, I'm now getting more into the US market, seeing what they're doing, what can we bring in here, and there's so many other things. So I can't just stick to UK and just to here. So I'm looking what's happening in Poland. I'm looking what's happening in Italy. I'm looking what's happening in US. Just because I can then combine them and bring a good knowledge and help other therapists.
Yeah, absolutely. So having discussed our careers and your career at length, what's the most unusual experience that you've had on your waxing table? Because I'm sure, like, because literally that's what you do. Like, and anyone that doesn't realize, Marta, her salon literally provides waxing service that is, and mainly intimate. And so Marta's does a lot of waxing and sees a lot of genitalia.
Yeah, that's correct. I specialize in intimate waxing, so that's my main thing. I don't offer legs separately, so that's other thing. I do combos, and I do a lot of pregnancy waxing. But back in the days when I was just kind of starting, we allowed men to come in. And then one day a man came in and said very with confidence that he wants a leg wax. And I had a new staff member, and this was her first day, I have to mention. She went with him to the room, you know, and then within 5 minutes she comes back and she's pale, and she says, well, they went to the room and she was steering the wax, getting ready. She turns around and the man has the jacket on still. And he was actually with a bike, so he was a cyclist. It kind of makes sense why he wanted the leg wax. I was like, oh, he's a cyclist, you know, he needed a leg wax. She turns around and he has his trousers down, everything out. And she looks at him and says, like, but I thought we only doing the legs. You know, he was like the underwear. I was like, oh, no, I just wanted this part, but I didn't want to ask it in front of everyone at the reception.
Oh, poor girl.
First day at work, came back and she said, what do I do? So I have to step in and just explaining. And he had to walk out with the bike outside. It was quite funny. So I feel like what that taught us is to be very transparent on your website, on your menu. What is that you do? Sam Marshall is very good with the all inclusivity, and she teaches about having no genders on the menu and stuff. I think this is okay, but we need to specify what genitals we are treating. Because if you have like a very generic menu, you might meet somebody who will be a female. You know, she has a pronouns as she, her, and she comes and she might have male genitals. So you need to be prepared for that. So I think to avoid this kind of stuff like we did, I mean, he just saw leg wax. Like, he thought it's fine, and then he forgot to mention that it's not just legs he wants.
Yeah, it wasn't just a leg wax.
Yeah, so just very specific. I mean, I don't really treat men anymore, and not that we just never had that many anyway. I think the salon attracts more female, and I think my specialty over the years became intimate waxing and pregnancy.
Yeah, it is. And I think as well, it's an interesting thing. I mean, I've had Sam on and we've spoken about all of the gender neutral stuff, and it is a massive challenge. And obviously there's been court cases in Canada and stuff around it. And it's a very, very contentious issue. But it is, and I think, and I know Sam is very big on this whole, about that you're trained in like scrotum waxing and you're trained in labia waxing and stuff. And so she uses the genital names now, which I think probably for the public might be a bit of oh, I don't know if I'm very comfortable with using the word labia or vagina, but we're quite used to that, aren't we? That's what we work with every day. And I think that, we just have to be quite prescriptive about how we refer to it. And I think that also kind of elevates our professionalism as well, because not that we're clinical by any means, but I think that the fact, if we are using the correct terminology with
nailed it, because I see that online. Stop using terms like coochie, like pregos. I mean, people know what that means, but I feel like as a professional you really have to say, we don't wax vaginas, we wax vulvas. And know the names of the parts, body parts, I don't even know why I said vulvas. I should just say loudly and proudly.
Yeah, I know, but you do, don't you? Because I think, for most of the general public and the consumer, if, we do sit, talking about inner and outer labia and vulvas and, and about scrotums and penises and all sorts of things that get discussed in the waxing world, and whether you're going to hold the penis or let them hold the penis, there's so many schools of thought. We won't go down that rabbit warren, but I think, the public don't see us in that way. And I think that when we start becoming more clinical about how we address it, people then maybe take us a little bit more seriously. So, what do you think makes you stand out within the industry? Because obviously, I mean, I've known you for a long time, so I know why you stand out and why you shine. But what is it? So what is it that people can recognize about Marta? I was nearly had your name then, Marta Zaczkowska.
Zaczkowska, yes. You probably get that sense with me of passion, right? I'm very passionate about this industry. You get that sense of standards, like I really wanted everyone to do well as well. So you get this to combine. I get things done. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If I say I can't do it, you just believe me, I can't do it. So I'm very like open book, and you get with me like what you see. You always get honest opinion, and I think some people like that. Some people found that a bit harsh, but that's okay. They can warm up to me maybe within some time. But I with the industry as well, I really, in the last 3 years, I think when we've met, so so much has happened. I've done so much as well, and I became very visible, and that comes to my work ethics. Like, I do work hard. I really want to work on myself. I invest a lot of money in business development, in my personal growth. I recently again invested £2,200 in another business course, because I know that investment will pay off. I can be a better educator, I can be a better businesswoman, I can be a better person as well. So with me, I think I bring innovation as well, because I come up with these new things. I mean, waxing specialist, 11 years ago when I opened, I was criticized for the name. Now look at the internet, everyone uses that name. When I became online bookings only, I was so criticized. People said, you're going to lose business. Are you crazy? Forrest used to call me and say, how come you're only doing online bookings? Because, they saw I had a lot. Yeah. No one had it that much at that time. They were crazy about it. And I said, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Everyone has online booking now. Everyone's using it. So I feel like sometimes I have that ability to kind of look a bit forward, like, pioneers, people that just see the gap. They'd be like, okay, how can you do that? Not everything that I come up work. Just put it that way, yeah? You only see the ones that succeed in. Some of my ideas don't work, and I have to adjust them. Like removing leg waxing and full body waxing from my treatments. I tell you, I've removed it for 6 months. People were banging on my door, my regular clients. How can I have a leg wax with you? I can't just have Brazilian and have to go somewhere for leg wax. So I was like, okay, hold on a second. That is silly. I've got money on the floor and I don't want to take it. Let me do combos. Yes, you can have a legs, but you have to book Brazilian as well. Done. Yeah?
Yeah.
So I feel like with me, innovation and just like I have a lot of drive to kind of be better, you know, to do good things in the industry.
And I think the nice thing as well is that, you know, there aren't that many people that are banging the waxing drum. And I think that to have people like yourself, and there's a couple like Sam is one, and Andy Roulard, there's a few people that are big in waxing, but there aren't many. And I think that, you know, when all of you have your own little areas that you kind of specialize in, and I think it's really nice to have someone that you can go to that, you know, you're going to get, you know, that very honest approach and assistance and guidance, and being pointed in the right direction for how we can move the waxing industry forward. So like the campaign will be ongoing, I'm sure, and you're going to keep pushing those buttons. So what have you got coming up next? Because I think you've got something that's quite interesting that's like making me go, oh, I wish I was a bit more waxing.
So I have been over the years myself investing in my business growth and myself by going on business retreats. I've done many of them with different mentors in different locations abroad, and they've always been so helpful. I found it like the best decision I made about my business, they happened during the retreats. And I feel like it was because of the environment was right. I had no distractions. I also had the like-minded people around me. So the community was great, the support. I could speak out loud about my problems. And suddenly I realized that, okay, we have the same problems and we can help each other. So I thought, okay, we don't have anything like this for waxing professionals. And I thought, I need to be the one who's going to organize this. So in January 2024, for 4 days, I am organizing a business retreat for waxing professionals. But if you have a laser clinic, you can come as well. I have one lady that actually has a laser clinic. It's fine because it's a hair removal and it's a similar business. And we are doing this retreat January, a bit of a sun, escape from London, beginning of the year. And the whole goal is that people...
Where is it? Did you say where it was?
Marrakesh.
Marrakesh. Oh.
Marrakesh, and the focus is on preparing for 2024. So looking at 2023, coming up with business strategy. So we look at all the points like your finances, we look at marketing, we look at social media. Is there any point of growth? Some people might need just a bit of help and they just want to come and relax, and we're going to have that as well, a lot of relaxation. And some people might be at this point where like they're a bit stuck and they're like, oh, what do I do next? Or like, I've done the same thing for a few years now, but I want to grow, I want to get staff, or I want to come out of the treatment room. That happened to me as well on the retreats. You know? When I was working myself to death and I was like, oh, I actually want to come out of the room. How do I do it? So a lot of help. It's going to be a small amount of people. It's only 7 slots, 7 spaces. 2 are sold already, so we have 5 left. Long way to January, so people will get a bit more excited about this. But I'm hiring the entire Riyadh. The whole building is ours. All the rooms are ours. All the staff is like doing stuff for us, so breakfast, lunch stuff. We have a rooftop. We're going to do affirmation sessions in the morning, you know, all that nice stuff that people need in January.
Yeah.
You know, tired, you like.
That sounds amazing.
You're waxing.
I might have to boost my wax. I might have to boost my hair removal side of my business so I can justify coming.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great investment. If anyone is interested, on my website, there's like a information there, business retreat, and you've got like application form. So I ask you for questions and we can jump on call. And I just ask a few questions and we see whether this is a good time for you to come.
I think that is going to be absolutely fascinating. And I think it is like this whole thing, like the innovation around, you know, trying to get waxing professionals to kind of reconnect with their education and understanding the business side of their business and all of that kind of stuff. You know, all this professional development is what waxing is really going to benefit from.
And I'm going to prepare something for January. I'm going to launch something that is going to be so great for our industry. And so the people that are going to come with me will be the first one to know, and they will have opportunity to become founding members. But yeah, it's going to be great. You know, I'm always thinking ahead, like what I can bring to the table. So Marrakesh, January the 12th till the 16th.
Wonderful. So with that in mind, where can people find that information? What's your website that they can find that on? And we'll put it all in the show notes as well.
It's very simple. My name and my surname is my website, martazaczkowska.com. That's it. In there you have all the information. There's a section business retreat. You click on it, you've got timer. It tells you how many days left. I love that.
Oh,
And then you
that
have
sounds amazing.
there's a lot of more to within the whole business retreat. You know, we have a sponsors, we have a goodie bag. I had 6 sponsors. Some of the things I'm going to have to send it to people in December, because I can't take that much products with me, and that much stuff. So
and will they get to practice? Will they get to do any practical work on the retreat, or is it all going to be more business minded?
Yeah, it's all business. It's going to be, but you know, the beauty of group coaching is like people can ask anything. Like, obviously I have a frame every day, we have workshops and I have a frame of what we're going to go through, but what normally happens, people like asking questions, and then I give my expertise, so you've got like almost one-to-one with me, you know. And I can say, have you tried this, and then the people come out and also say their bit. You know, when I did the retreats, we chat about business 24 hours because you eat breakfast and you're like, oh, this happened. It is such a valuable thing. You know, I feel like because you're out and you're on the sun, you're a bit of like, you get more out of it because you're out of your surroundings, of your salon, of your normal life, and you can open up a bit more. Brilliant ideas coming up on retreats.
And I think as well, just, you know, when I haven't been on a retreat. They always appeal to me and I never ever get around to doing it. But I think, you know, just having been to sort of like day-long business events and stuff, you know, that opportunity and that interaction with people that are going through the same thing you're going through, or may have done something 6 months before or 3 years before, and then being able to share that experience is invaluable.
Do you know, when you get to my website and you click business retreat, there's a short video. It's a quite emotional one. Have a look, because I explained there what happened and what kind of impact I had on somebody during business retreat that was life-changing, and I didn't even know. So it's a powerful, powerful time.
I'll have to go and have a look. So they can find all that details. The web address will be in the show notes so that you can find that, because if you're not sure how to spell Marta's surname, which I can spell it better than I can say it. And Marta's given me so many lessons in how to say it, and it's terrible that sometimes it sounds right in my head and then I say it and it comes out wrong still, and it's really I hate it, because I'm a Davies and people are forever saying Davis, and I'm like, no, it's Davies, and that's a really simple mispronunciation. But so I can't imagine how irritating it is for Marta. But what else can people find from you? So you've got an ebook, haven't you, that they can get from you?
You know, I thought you've invited me here today, which I'm very appreciative of, and it's great to connect with your audience as well. You have a lot of salon owners as well, and people that do waxing, but that maybe it's not just the waxing. But nevertheless, it is so helpful. So I, with the campaign, I produced an ebook, which combines all the information that we've provided during the 7 weeks. And the ebook, actually, it's about 50 pages. So you might feel like, gosh, what did she put in there? Honestly, really helpful stuff. Some things you might know, but like even hear about qualifications in waxing, right? So all the levels for UK, and what is the difference between qualification and short courses, for example, and examples of short courses in waxing. What is qualification, certification versus accreditation certification? Lots of people don't know. So really good. So guys, for you, this is a free ebook, and you can download that. Sue will put the link. You can also download it from my website. Download it, read it through, let me know what you think, let me know if that was helpful. I always like to hear back from people if that wasn't any help.
Well, thank you so much, Marta. I think, as ever, whenever I do these interviews, we do go on like a chat. But I think everything we've covered is really helpful, and that, you know, anyone that is in the waxing side of our industry and who wants to get more into the waxing side of the industry, there's a lot of things in today's episode that they're going to be able to take away and be able to action, and to be able to go and find out more about you and go and find out more about the business retreat, because I'm sure that that's going to be really, really a fantastic few days. And if there's only 5 spaces left, you need to be very quick, because I'm sure that they will go rapidly as soon as, because I think I've seen you talking about it, but have you started promoting it heavily yet? I don't think
Not heavily,
No.
no, because I think I launched that. I've asked people what they think in January. A lot of people were like excited. And then in March, April, I think I've launched. So it hasn't been that long, not
No.
particular on some kind of rush. I just really want the right people as well. Like, the one that we can help.
Yeah.
And then we can have a good time as well. So we have 2 people now. And when it will be closer to January, obviously people would like be more interested. But for now, I'm just breadcrumbing. I'm just talking a bit about it. Like on the podcast.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very, very much. And we will see Marta again at some point in the future, I'm sure, on the podcast, because she's always got something new going on. And it's nice to bring her back and just share her knowledge and her information again. So thanks ever so much for joining me today, Marta. And we'll see you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Bye. So thank you so much to Marta there for joining us and giving us a different insight into all things waxing. And Marta is an amazing person to talk about waxing. She's been doing it for so long, and she literally has built a huge business out of being a niche waxing specialist, and that's what she does. So everything will be on the show notes, as I said already. Do go down to Marta's website and download her ebook, because that would be 50 pages of lots and lots of information all around waxing and standards that will be able to help you and your business. So I think we'll leave it there. And don't forget, if you want to join her on her retreat, she's got 5 spaces left. And that's at the time of recording, which is at the end of May. And in fact, no, it's the 1st of June today. So that's time of recording, and just get booking. And if you missed this year's one and you're watching this at a different time, then maybe Marta will have another one coming up soon. So just go to her website and find out. So thanks ever so much, and see you next time. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Inspiring Salon Professionals. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with fellow industry professionals that you think may enjoy the show. Links and further information can be found on the show notes or on my website, www.suedavies.org. Here you can also find some downloadable free guides that you may find of use. You can also hear from me and join the Inspiring Salon Professionals community on my Facebook group. Thanks again, and see you next time. Bye for now.